Welcome back, everyone. We have Calvin Ruda here with us from Wild West Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Today we are meeting, I think this is one of my favorite names so far, Frank the Bearded Dragon. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you all for having us.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about Frank and kind of how he got into y'all's care.
So Frank is a bearded dragon, I believe a central bearded dragon. There are a total of 8 species of beardies, as they're called, in their native Australia.
That's cute.
And Frank here, I believe, was a pet.
Okay.
A lot of the times, especially with these kind of more exotic species, people will end up not be able to care for them anymore, either because the expenses get too much, they're going to move away, or oftentimes something like a college kid moves out and mom doesn't want to keep feeding bugs to lizard. And so what we'll do, especially for animals that are good for educational purposes, who do really well with people and don't mind being handled, we'll keep them at our center.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
And we kind of like felt Frank earlier. He looks very pokey, but he's actually not.
Yeah, so a lot of the spines and everything else is mostly looks.
Yeah.
They rely heavily upon kind of intimidation more so than actual defensive measures of like spiking anything that grabs them. It's not like a porcupine or something that's really going to prick anything that tries to grab a hold of them. Instead, they can puff themselves up, so they'll flatten out their body to look way bigger than they normally are.
Gotcha.
And their namesake, which is that, which he's not going to show it because he doesn't care that we're doing this with him, but they can puff their throat up and lift it up, and it's like a big black pouch, and that's why they're called a bearded dragon, because it looks like a big old beard on them. And that's like their main way of kind of warding off predators or other threats, is doing that.
That is really interesting.
Cool. Now you were telling us off camera that they actually have a third eye.
Yeah, so these guys are very light sensitive, as any lizard is, right? That's going to require sunlight. They have a tiny little third eye right on the top of their forehead, which is pretty much invisible. It's super small. But iguanas also share the same trait. It's able to detect light levels in their kind of environment. These guys are also able to slightly, just like chameleons, change the color that they are.
Really?
Usually, if it's brighter outside, they're darker. If it's cooler outside, they're lighter, you know, in the sense of just how we reflect sunlight off of ourselves. We're in white or black shirts.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a lot of really interesting things about them.
Now, are they native to this part?
No,
of the
these
country?
guys are totally native to Australia.
Okay.
All 8 species of bearded dragon are native to Australia and have now gone worldwide in the pet trade.
Right.
But yeah, natively they solely exist throughout the outback and areas throughout, pretty much I think almost across the entirety island of Australia.
That's cool.
They're also quite intelligent. A lot of lizards are, which I think we don't really associate cold-blooded animals with intelligence.
Right.
But these guys are actually able to learn from one another. So I was actually just reading about how an experiment that was done where one bearded dragon was able to open a door to get to food, and then the other ones who saw it do that recreated that behavior and were able to then open the door as well. Yeah, so they're actually quite smart.
Yeah, and you were telling us they're actually pretty quick too.
Yes, they're very fast. As anyone who's ever tried to catch a lizard or anything that catches sight of them probably knows.
Good luck.
Yeah, they can really get to going when they start trying to run.
Now I see like a little hole right here on the side of his.
Yes.
Is that his ear?
Yes, those are indeed his ears. He kind of has internal ears, but he has these tiny holes on the side of his head that kind of give a direct view into like this very thin membrane, which is how they hear noise and pick things up. So it's kind of like if we just had a little hole in the side of our heads instead of our full external ears.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be much more receptive to like heat levels and things like that. But yeah, they also have hearing, sense of smell, all that laid out on there.
Very cool.
Man, fascinating. That's pretty cool.
Well, you learned something new.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is 6:20 coming up on today.
Welcome back, everybody. We're still here with Calvin from Wild West Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. We're talking about the work that they do in the community. So y'all did some really cool things in the Amarillo community. Tell them a little bit about it, if I can talk.
Yeah, so obviously we do a lot of like animal rehabilitation, right? Bringing in orphan and injured wildlife and getting them back into healthy shape to release them back into the environment. Yeah. But we also do a lot of educational work. So we go out to local schools. We sometimes have field trips out to our educational center to kind of give, especially younger kids, that experience of the kind of hands-on, up close experience with the different animals like this. We do summer camps throughout the summer, and it was as well as like special education programs. And we always think that it starts young. Right, getting people familiar with animals and respecting them and having those positive experiences makes a huge difference because, you know, I think a lot of the times, especially with some of our creepier animals like snakes, people see them like in movies and other things, especially when they're younger, and they kind of instantly negatively associate with them, and they feel like I have to be scared of that thing. Whereas it's just that we have to be respectful of them and cautious, and rather than like, scared or freaked out or anything like that. And it's a big part of our mission is to create those kind of positive connections and bonds with especially our local wildlife.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of hard for people to understand that, like, you can't treat wild animals the same as domesticated animals.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And it's the same thing with, both when it comes to exotics like Frank here, where people release them into the wild around here, thinking that they'll function just like a wild animal, whereas they are very much domestics, even if they act a little more standoffish, than a dog would. But the same thing with wildlife. Yeah, we have to be careful. We don't want to treat them like pets, but we also don't want to treat them like pests either.
Yeah.
Right? They were here first. We kind of came into their house and made our own space for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we just have to find a healthy way and a healthy balance to be able to live with these animals and respect them in a way that's both safe and responsible for both of us.
Absolutely. And one thing that y'all always need at the center is donations. How can people help y'all out and support y'all?
So obviously, if they'd ever like to swing by our center, we've got a gift shop. We do tours every Friday at 3, and we always love to see people out there. But another big thing is our Facebook page, our website, or even just giving us a call. For money donations or even just items, we take towels and blankets, anything that you think we might need. You can always ask us if we could use it. And even if we can't, when we've gotten a lot of dog food recently, we do our best to share it with other nonprofits who help animals in the region as well. So we always try to find a good place for it.
Absolutely.
Awesome deal. All right, well, Calvin, always good to see you. Thanks.
Yes.
And thank you too, Frankie.
Yes.